do the rest of that. So good morning, everybody, as you're getting ready. And let me hit record. And we're recording here. We're live on YouTube. There we go. Push this over to speaker view. Hey, everybody. Good morning. It is February 24th, 2020. This is episode 367 of the Daily Misfit Call. We've been doing this since December 18th, 2018. On that day, I decided I had enough. I was going to, I couldn't complain anymore. You can't complain unless you're willing to do something, stand up. You can't sit on the couch and complain. That doesn't serve anyone. So I decided 67 episodes ago, I'm going to start making a difference. And the difference started with me. And I wanted to make sure that I understood where I'm coming from. I wanted to get clear in my perception of life and the way I look at things. So I started this call, and we've been going ever since. We've got some amazing souls who've swum. Is there past tense of swimmed? They've gone through this. They've come through this. They've shared some notes. They've gone on to bigger, better things. Some of the people are like a bad habit. You can't shake them, and so we love having them here. They're actually a good habit for me. So good morning, everybody. Welcome. My name's Sean Murphy. Appreciate you all. This is the Misfit Group. And today the conversation is going to be a little bit more about Mastermind. We've been having some pretty big breakthroughs here recently. Yesterday was some huge breakthroughs for a couple of souls. So we appreciate that. And we're going to keep on that path for a little bit. And yeah, we're just going to go that way. So that being said, I hope you send out, if you're new to the call, if you're new to this call, type an N in the chat. We'd love to send you some love and some gratitude and some thanks. If you're new, type an N in the chat. That'd be great. We'd love to welcome you to the call. Somebody thought you'd be pretty cool to have some fun here, and you would be a great asset and a great add to share your energy with us. So we appreciate you for that. And when you see the D's in the chat, that means they've sent out their 3 messages. We start off each call each morning with sending out at least 3 messages of gratitude, of love, of faith, of awareness, of awakening. Here's the fun thing. Y'all want to hear something fun? I'm getting messages from leaders in our profession who are calling me and going, I don't know what you're doing, but I get these crazy messages every morning, and I'm getting these crazy messages from your tribe. Thank you. Isn't that cool? People are calling me, thanking me for y'all sending your messages out. How cool is that? Seriously. I got 2 calls yesterday from people going, what do you do on your morning calls? I go, what do you mean? What do I do on my morning call? They go, during the day or first thing in the morning, because they could be West Coast, and some East Coast folks. And they say, I get these random messages from people in my organization. I'm like, cool, dude, that's awesome. And then some of them say, I get messages from people who aren't even in my organization, but I know they're part of your community. So I think that's pretty cool. So thank you all for doing that. And that being said, we're going to go back into questions, but let me first ask, if anybody has any ahas, awarenesses, or awakenings, raise your hand, because we like to have a little bit of order in the process. Raise your hand and would love to call on you and ask you to share your little aha or your question that you may have to get us started if you want. If not, I'm going to go through some of my notes that I've been having from some downloads.
Good morning, Sean.
RBP.
Can you hear me?
Good morning.
Can you hear me?
Good morning.
Yes, no, can't hear me?
Yes, Rhonda, we can hear you.
Oh, okay. There you are. So I did have something that snuck up on me this weekend. And I wasn't going to share, and I kept hearing, no, say it. So I'm going to say it. So that old story, and it's been a while since I fully entertained my old story, but this weekend we had a family get together. If there's anything that will bring out your old story, it is a family get together. And nothing bad happened. it's just some things that were there, and some situations. I'm trying to say this because now I remember that we're on YouTube live and everybody can listen. Um, it made my old story creep in. And well, it didn't creep in. It came in like a herd of elephants. And I was like, oh, Lord, help me. And I found myself up yesterday morning at about 2 or 2:30. And I just was like, you know what? I'm getting out of bed. I'm not going to sit here and flop in the bed and entertain this. I'm just going to get out of bed. And I kind of spiraled, and it got dark and heavy. And I got up and I did what I knew I could do to save myself. Now, when I say those words, I don't like saying those words, but maybe to help myself is what I should say. And when you learn what helps yourself, that's a big tool in your tool belt, because then you can get out of whatever it is you're in. And I came in here and I got my Bible and I started doing my reading for my Bible study on Thursday. And I started getting a little bit better. And then I did something stupid and I jumped on social media and I saw some things on social media. And then, I went back down. Hey, Steffi, I went back down and kind of spiraled. And I'm like, okay, get off social media. And I went back and I started doing my journaling. I started doing my Bible. And what ended up happening is my old story threw me into a huge pit of self-pity. And self-pity will eat your lunch. And it will make you do crazy things. And it'll make you have some crazy thoughts inside your head. And y'all, I had crazy thoughts. So yesterday, I think I sent out over 40 or 50 messages, because I thought, you know what? This is a selfish moment. And I am going to be fully selfish. I'm going to send out as much love as I possibly can so I can get more back than what I need. And so I did. I sent out all those messages, and I was sitting in church at 8:30, and the service started at 9. I had to do altar team, or I got to do altar team. Thank God for that. And I looked down at my phone at 9:15, and I had like 37 text messages, and I don't know how many Facebook messages, and I chuckled and I giggled, because I thought, you know what? If I didn't have the tools, if I wasn't on these phone calls and I wasn't in Sean's business all the time, just up in his business, getting this information, y'all, I don't think I'd have come out of it, because it was dark. And it just so happened that as soon as I started doing those things, I get a message from Steffi, and she uploaded our video, our chat for her Sunday Smiles. I start getting more text messages, and then a girlfriend of mine called me, and she's usually the one venting to me, and it gave me a chance to vent this. But what was beautiful, y'all, is there's a lot of times she's caught in self-pity, and she feels bad for calling me because she's venting all the time. And the roles reversed, and the script was flipped. And here's the beauty of it. Did I need to vent? Yeah. But she needed to be the one to help me out of it. And that was beautiful. And it gave her purpose. And it gave her a sense of, you know what? I'm not the only crazy one. I'm like, girl, you're far from it. I got you squared away and beat on that. But it was crazy wild. I've not had that experience in a while. I got swallowed up by self-pity. And when you get swallowed up by self-pity, you become your own idol, and you just worship the crap out of yourself. And then it makes it even worse, and it just gets deeper and darker. Thank God that I've got people on this phone call that I reached out to, and y'all reached back to me, and y'all loved on me, and y'all helped me. And it made my day. It just made my freaking day, y'all. So I couldn't help but share this with y'all. I love y'all. Y'all speak into my heart, and you lift me up, and you didn't even have a clue you were probably doing it. So it's an interesting concept, self-pity, especially when we have such a good life and we have no reason to be there, but it'll jump on you in like 0.2 seconds. So I was doing some major spiritual and emotional karate, and you guys were helping me and cheering me on. So just, I love y'all. Thank you. Thank you for always being there for me. Thanks, Sean, for letting me chat.
You bet. So I think the key is if you haven't had a bad day, it's coming. It's coming for you. You know, people look all the time and ask, how do you stay so positive? There's moments like that. We all have them, right? I've got my team that when the world pulls the rug out from underneath that I go to. And you have to have that. You've got to have your backups. You got to have your folks that'll step into and say, that's not you. You need your team. And that's where this community, that's where this profession, that's where this business model, that's where this ideal of building people really makes a difference. Because I bet there's maybe 50% of the people that Rhonda was able to reach out to might not have been in her world had it not been for this kind of profession, this ability. Could have been
Probably
more.
75%.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking. And so the reality now says, what team are you building? And what are you building your team for? Are you building your team for a check, or are you building your team for a battle? Because the battle's coming. The challenge is coming. And there has to be, and your response to the battle has to be instant. 2:00 in the morning to 6:00 in the morning, that's a lot of thoughts if you don't get up and start taking control of it. So appreciate you for sharing that, Rhonda. Thank you. Yeah, it happens. That's a vulnerable moment for sure. And funny thing was, it was triggered by possible family because we're live on YouTube. Possible. Could have been a song on the radio, maybe. So that being said, thank you, Rhonda, for sharing that. Let's see here. Some more questions. And if you do have a comment or want to share something, go ahead and raise your hand and we'll give you a shout out. If not, I'm going to start reading some questions. What was Jeff for Birdie saying? Let's see here. Where did I just see that? You all ready for a Monday? Jeff for Birdie. How many of us know, I love him. He always says this. How many of us have ever heard this saying? You love people with all the answers and no money. Right? How many people are you going to go talk to today that have all the answers and no money? Now, we could talk to it about on this daily awakening call, people who have all the answers but aren't awakened. How many people are you about to have a conversation with, have all the answers for you, but they have yet to awaken themselves? Think about that for a second. The last few people who have challenged you or where you've prospected and had a conversation with and they said no to, they had all the answers, didn't they? The people that kind of pick on you in your business because you're in this business model, you're in one of those things, or get a job or whatever it is, they got all the answers, but they have no awakening. When did you doubt this was for you? The current situations you're going through, the current challenges you're going through to build yourself, to build you, the person, to build your business, to build your community. When did you doubt this was for you? When's the last time you doubted this was for you? When you doubted you weren't good enough, you weren't tall enough, you weren't strong enough. Who has taught you the skills to create your lifetime of dreams? Where are you going right now? What skills, what is the resource that you've used to build your current state? What's the story that's running you on a regular basis to build your current state? Is it still story from your parents and from uncles and aunts or cousins and nieces and nephews? Is it, where's these stories coming from? What's the source that's going to build your day today? If your source is in faith, in God, in a higher power, then the way you're acting, the way you've acted since you woke up this morning, is that pure like? Is that grace like? I've been hearing that word a lot, grace. Are you walking in grace this morning? Are you walking in forgiveness? Who benefits from your false identity? Ooh. This idea that you have, this ideal that you have, who benefits from you not being true to you? How much of your love? We did that. How long has it been since you have sat in truth? How long has it been since you've sat in truth? I know that that's a big one. Just sat quietly in truth. Been aware of the truth around you. What is the truth around you? Are you a good person? Yep. Are you a loving person? Yep. Are you a caring person? Yep. Are you a person that lets people walk over you? Are you a person that pushes people away? Is that who you are at the truth, at the core of your being? How fast can you believe untruths? You're not good enough. You're not tall enough. You're too dark. You're too light. You got an accent. You don't have an accent. Your accent's too strong. Your accent isn't enough. You don't sound like the rest of us. You don't look like the rest of us. How fast can you lose your truth? RBP?
Yeah, so there's a couple of things. Do you mind if we stop as you ask
No,
questions?
go.
Okay. So the two things that you just said that stick out to me was, well, it's more than two, but the two that I wanted to make mention was forgiveness. But I had to forgive myself yesterday. I'd already forgiven the other situations and the other people, but I had to forgive myself yesterday for picking it back up and for not letting it just remain finished. And that's an interesting concept. I even had a lady that needed to hear that yesterday. But how many times have we gone through something or done something and we haven't forgiven ourselves? And that's a huge concept. You got to sit with that for a little bit, if that makes sense. And then the other one was, you said, how fast can you believe in truths? The thing that hit me was yesterday, one thing that pulled me out was how quickly I realized what was happening and how to get myself out of it. And that's the how fast can you believe in truth instead of untruths. So a lot of the times when you ask questions, I'll think of the opposite one. And I don't know where I get that. Wonder where I get that from. Sean G. Murphy now. But being able to identify the truths and the untruths both is huge. And my success moment, my pat on the back, my atta girl, my way to go moment was I was able to look at yesterday and realize this all happened in less than 24 hours. And usually it took at least a week to a month to get through that self-pity.
Wow.
I would hold on to it that long. So having something start at 2:30 in the morning, and by 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and that was with a 2-hour nap, it was passed and done. And to me, that's a really good, I've said it 100 times probably on these calls or more, that's a really good place to have, is to be able to go, how fast can I turn around? And maybe not even a full turnaround, how fast can I identify that I need to turn around and how to do it? Those two things just popped in my mind. Maybe somebody else can use that, because sometimes we look at it and we get in self-pity and we start spiraling, and we need something good to see in ourselves. And if you don't have the language going on inside your head that's good, at least you identifying, going, I don't have anything good to say right now. That's a good thing, because you're identifying it. And all you want to do is just get faster than you did the time before. Because it's like what Sean says, life's going to kick us square in the face when you least expect it. And when it does, are you prepared with enough truth inside your head and inside your heart to be able to go, okay, I see it. I'm still having a hard time, but at least I see it. And I'm seeing it now, and it's only been, 4 hours instead of 14 days. So I don't know. That'll speak to probably a lot more women than it does men. Men are a little more instant, but to women, it takes us a while, and then we can get into a pretty vicious spiral. So, okay,
Well,
keep going.
No. So the key is it took 14 hours and you're back, and guys have a tendency to a couple of things. One, it never really, we don't let it get that deep because we're kind of shallow sometimes. And we armor up without ever addressing it. So that's a big issue as well. Women have a tendency to, it has to be sorted out, right? Because everything is connected. Men could have a tendency to compartmentalize. This is that, that's this. That's why there's just, it's a variety of things. You could say, Christmas lights, and you can go back to 1974 and figure out what the story was, is that somebody forgot the Christmas lights. It's like, how did you get there? How did you not get there? So all of this story that it's always connected, the challenges. And so this is important in having a conversation with a woman with that female brain, is that when you're starting to do your presentation and conversation about your business product and about your business, there, less is more, because the less that you bring will still create 75 questions. But if you start bringing 17 things of 8 ways to build your comp plan and 72 ways and this, that, and the other, the challenge is that you've opened up 6 years worth of questions. So just be aware of, as you're having a conversation, you sometimes have to ask, does that answer that question? Does that solve that question? Does that solve that challenge? And because here's the other thing, unless they all get answered, unless they all have attention put on them, all of these questions, it's almost impossible to move them forward. And when they do move forward, it's because their reason, not yours, and you have no idea why they're moving forward. And you think you know, and you haven't got a clue. It's why they say people will watch your feet and not your lips. This is a volunteer army. People will vote with their feet. So good points. Angie, go ahead, Angie.
Good morning, Sean. Good morning, everybody.
And Angie.
So I'm going off with what Rhonda said, because I'm that individual. Like, once I think of something and I just think and I just go into a deep, like, I start getting anxious. It's just like a whole roller coaster. But lately, I noticed that I'm putting myself through so much pain doing that. And it took me a while to realize that. because ever since I was little, I was the type to be like, did I do this right? Like question at somebody else. Like, did you like what I did? Like, I just always looking for approval and everything. But lately it's gotten to the point where now that I'm older, I start asking that myself, but I feel like sometimes it's good and then sometimes it's bad because I'm like, okay, I noticed that I'm doing this, but then I start questioning. I'm like, okay, why are you doing it? What are you going to do to change it? And then that just goes into a whole other like spiral. So lately, which I'm proud of myself for doing this, but like Rhonda said, like she realized the moment where she was going through whatever it was. And same with me, I'm starting to get to the moment where I'm like, okay, what are you feeling right now? I analyze it. I'm like, okay, I'm feeling this. I give myself the moment to feel whatever I may be feeling. And then I change it to, okay, say positive things about yourself, or say, remind yourself of the things you have, remind yourself of who you have in your life that can bring a little more joy, laughter, love. So I'm starting to get in that habit, but then sometimes, oh my goodness, when I start reminding me of those good things, I start going into that, it's a lot. Like, so thank you, Rhonda, for like just pointing that out, because I struggle with that a lot. I think maybe because of my past. No, it is because of my past. Like, scratch that. It is because of my past, because not having like my parents or like that family that I needed when I was in my orphanage, I think that's what started getting me into that path and that story that I keep telling myself, that finding approval and questioning everything, because I question everything. You could say like, oh, you look nice today. Oh, really? Why? I always do that. Where somebody asks me compliments me or say something nice, I have to answer with a question. And sometimes it bothers me because I'm like, why couldn't you just take the moment of the compliment or whatever it may be that that person like pour into you? So I need to so I realized about myself, these little things that I need to like cut off, like completely, like kill them, like. But yeah, so that's what I want to say. So thank you, Rhonda, for just saying that, because now it made me realize even more things that I need to work on and I need to improve, especially with this. So thank you.
That's amazing, Angie. That's you. When you said it, you even you made me have another little aha. I call them pomegranate moments. You know how when you eat a pomegranate, it has all the little beads inside and they all pop at different times. When you said approval, and when I was sitting in this darkness yesterday, I actually had to go through that and go, now hang on a second. I have worked through a lot of addiction to approval. Why am I wrestling with that again? And it was something else. It's just kind of one of those things where, if I vacuum the house once, in another week or two, I'm going to have to vacuum the house again. It doesn't just stay clean. And I thought, man, I haven't done some mental and spiritual house cleaning inside my brain. And when you said that, I'm so glad you did right now, because instantly God was like, listen, you need to check that approval, that addiction to approval inside you, because you haven't cleaned that up yet lately. We need to talk about that today. So you just gave me, I just wrote it down. You just gave me one more thing that I have got to make sure I address and take a look at today. And that's true. It's that approval. And you start fighting with it. And man, it just snatches you up in a heartbeat. So I feel you, girl, and I'm working on it too. So we'll be doing it together. And I'll be praying for you and just be lifting you up also. So
Thank you too.
So here's the thing, and Monique, you're up next. Hang on just a second. As you listen to this, if you go back and watch this replay, and I'm going to say particularly the both of you, because when you're in presentation mode, when you're in talking mode, your brain is in a different way from listening. And so I'm going to share this with you. Both of you and everybody else who's making comments, and Monique, who's made a comment, who's just about to have a conversation with us. All of these things are saying, where is the resource, not the source? Where is the resource, the source that's being used again, the resource that is solving all of these issues? It is you. You are the source. You are the resource that is being used. So as Rhonda just had an awakening, what's the mental cleaning? What's the mental clearing? What's the addiction to approval? If it takes 14 hours, it can take 14 seconds. If it takes 14 years, it can take 14 days. What is this ideal? What is the news story now that happened at 4 o'clock that now allows you to be back with the living for conversation's sake? What was the transition? Because at 13 hours and 30 minutes, it hadn't triggered yet. At 8 hours, you might have been climbing down off the mountain. At some point in that 14-hour stretch, where did the decision make to stop the momentum going in one direction? Because at that point is the secret. When Angie, somebody says, hey, listen, you look beautiful today. Oh, really? Why? What makes you say that? At some point, you have to ask the question, where was that question triggered and ready to be fired? Where was that bullet ready to come out? When Rhonda was heading to her retreat, that happened yesterday. And in that retreat that she went to, was it already brewing? Was the battle already on its way? When you go off into something, into a situation that may put you into a challenge, that may put you into a test, is the test in the location or is the test already started? And where does it start? Does it start before you see them? Is it with your thoughts? And if the law of attraction is so true, can you be so powerful that when you show up, exactly what you thought was going to happen happened and it sends you off on a tailspin? Something interesting to think about. Good morning, Monique.
Good morning, everybody. How are you? Great. So yeah, this conversation is just crazy how it is just applying to me this morning, because the past few days, I missed 2 days of the call. I've had my best friend of over 18 years came into town, and I've been so excited to see her. And we haven't seen each other in the past 3 years. I mean, we talk all the time on the phone, but we haven't been together in the past 3 years. And she came down here recently because her daughter was going to be playing a softball tournament in Beaumont. So the premise of the trip in the beginning, the first 2 days, was we were going to drive down to Beaumont and we were going to go see her daughter play softball. And I am not interested in softball. I don't even like really watching a whole lot of sports, but it's important to her. She's my best friend. I love her. So I'm going to go support her. So we go down to Beaumont, and right from the beginning, like, it started to just feel like really just uncomfortable for me, because I started to get hit with like kind of all my old demons, like the words addiction to approval are just really clicking with me right now. Because during the course of the time that she was here, and now I've been asking myself, what is this moment trying to teach me? Because that's what I always ask myself when I start to feel uncomfortable. What is this moment trying to teach me? It's trying to teach me something. And I honestly couldn't come up with what it really was. And the reason why I was asking myself that is because during this trip, and in the past 3 years, I have done a lot of changing and a lot of soul searching and a lot of development. And my friend came into town, and to make her comfortable, because I'm a people pleaser, I started to slowly sacrifice the things that I do on a daily basis, like this call, like my working out. I don't even drink much anymore, all to get myself in a good place. But because my friend was here and I wanted her to have a good time, I didn't get on this call the first 2 days, because I didn't want to bother her with something that made her uncomfortable or she really wasn't interested in. I pretended to enjoy softball, all this kind of stuff. And we were driving back from Beaumont, which is like almost a 5-hour road trip. And she says to me, "You're so different now. You're so boring. You don't want to do anything fun. You don't want to drink. You want to go to bed, at 9:30, 10 o'clock. You want to work out. And I just want to have fun. I want to do this. I want to do that." And I recognize in her life, she's recently an empty nester. and she's ready to have fun. She's ready to go out and enjoy life and do what she wants to do. But she's also struggling with a few things. And I started to get kind of sucked into her stuff. And I was letting myself do it because when she said the words to me, "You're so boring now," I started to question myself. And I was just like, am I so boring now? Is something wrong with me? Like, am I really that different? And so I would sit down, and even though I don't drink, I would drink with her. I would drink wine every night. And I was like feeling so crappy. My body is like, bloated and feeling heavy. And I haven't been working out. I'm going to the gym today. I haven't been working out. And I could feel the heaviness of it all weighing on me. And I was still sitting there questioning, going, is something that different with me? Should I maybe loosen up a little bit? And I was just really, really struggling with it. And again, I said to myself, what is this trying to teach me? And I'm seeing the comment here because I'm outgrowing her. But you know what? It's not that I'm outgrowing her. It's that I outgrew myself. And now I'm like bigger than I was before. And that's not a bad thing. And I don't have to apologize for it. And one of the things that I do often when I'm questioning, what things are trying to teach me, is I go back to my journal and I read things that I've been writing about. And I realized that in my journal, I had been asking the question, am I ready for what I've been praying for? Am I ready for it? Let me know if I'm ready. And this weekend, this moment has taught me that I still have a little bit of work to do, because I let a little doubt creep in and I let it affect me. And for a second, just like Rhonda said, and I had to quickly, start doing the things that were going to get me back to center, which is what I'm doing, which is working. But it was a test. It was a test because I asked the question, am I ready? And it was testing me. It was testing my strength. It was testing, do I really believe the stuff that comes out of my mouth on a daily basis? Am I really willing to put in that work to get it done and to stick to it no matter what? And it was hard. Like I was driving back from Beaumont and I had like my glasses on and I was like tearing up because I was just like, wow, like I feel so crappy because my friend isn't having, or I think she wasn't having a good time. That's the story I was telling myself. She wasn't having a good time. And it wasn't about me. She's going through her own stuff right now. And it's just that we're different. It's just that we've now become a little bit different, and that's okay. And I don't have to rack my brain to figure out how to make her feel comfortable. I am who I am. She is who she is. And that's okay that we're not in the same place. But I still have to get back to where I was headed and on my path, because it's about my growth. It's not about making her feel okay. It's about making me feel okay. So I hope all that made sense, because I feel like I rambled on, but yeah, it's been an interesting past couple of days, and she's leaving tomorrow, and I'm definitely going to reflect even more so when it's quieted down a little bit in my house and I can get back to my full daily routine of things. But yeah, just thank you, Rhonda, for bringing up the topic that you brought up, because it was almost like God telling me, I'm going to make sure that you know that what you're thinking is okay. It's okay to feel this way, just as long as you grab yourself and pull yourself out of it. And the fact that I can pull myself out of it is even more amazing, because before I couldn't, because before I was using other things and crutches and people to get myself out of that feeling, because I didn't know how to make myself feel, because I was depending on other people to give me the feeling that I wanted to have. So
That's awesome, Monique. I'm sitting over here writing notes off of what you're speaking, and I love it. I love your strength, and I love that you're capable of being weak and strong at the same time. I love that. I think that's an amazing quality. I'm learning that, and that's really cool to see it and to watch it lived out in front of me, and in such a beautiful example. I know exactly, like I can feel exactly what you were feeling. And it's funny because some of that was part of what I was dealing with. And it's just that old story. It's that, and there's multiple old stories. And the beauty of it is you did a lot of asking. You kept saying, I asked myself, I asked. And it's only then that you're asking that you'll find answers. Because if you just keep sitting in it and you don't ever ask, it just keeps stirring and it gets darker and nastier and stinkier. And oh my gosh, it just gets worse. And you ask, and that's exactly what I had to do, was sit on the couch and ask. And then you were ready to go to a different place in your life, and you still are. And you asked for that. And you had a trial sneak in. It didn't sneak in from God's perspective, but it snuck in on you because you were not expecting it. But it snuck in. And here's the beauty of it is you endured it. You walked through it. You're not flat on your back or 6 feet under. And you're still functioning and you're still going. And you're able, here the biggest part is, you're able to share that with us without crumbling or without being too scared to share that with us. So it's that whole, the lesson continues until the lesson is learned. And you learned it. Like you learned it. Like that's a celebration moment, girl. That's awesome. Like I'm over here happy for you because I'm like, she got it. At least one of us got it. That's awesome. But
Yeah, thank you. I definitely think that I had to share it because I think sometimes people look at me sometimes and think I have it all together. And I wanted to show that it even happens to me, that I maybe seem so focused about things. And even I go through these moments of doubts. And your old story is always going to come creeping back in. It's always going to try. It's like that head heart thing. Your head is always going to try to stop your heart from, and in fact, I was watching a show where they were talking about how when your body is in like distress and, your brain actually will shut down everything before it shuts itself down. It'll be the last thing to go.
Yeah. Well, and you said something just a minute ago. You said, am I ready? Well, I wrote down, am I ready for what I have been praying for? And that's an interesting question because as it comes, it will reveal to you if you're ready to take that next step. Because here's one thing I know, and I put it out on social media a couple weeks ago, and it was actually around the thought of money. Money will just reveal more of who you already are. And as you become successful and you have things change in your life and you get elevated to a different position or status in society, or more people are hearing you or seeing you, it's going to reveal who you are more and to just more people. It's kind of the higher up you climb the ladder, the more your butt's exposed. So what you showing people? Are you preaching what you're practicing? And that's what hit you and I both kind of square between the eyes, was we're asking and we're working to go to a different spot than where we are, to step into a bigger calling than what we are. And are we ready for it? And these trials and tribulations, your friend, your best friend coming in, that's a beautiful thing what happened this weekend, because it showed you there's a little bit of opportunity to be sucked into a place that you didn't need to go. But you didn't get there totally. You stayed out of it. And that's what's beautiful. And you got your butt back on this call this morning and you confessed, so to speak, kind of like what I've had to do. And what's beautiful, and this hit me before you ever said it, Monique, is I look at you and I see that strength and that amazing femininity and that power you have just embraced as a woman. And when I got vulnerable on this call and said what that pit of self-pity that I allowed myself to fall into, that was hard. And then another strong woman speaks up. and Angie confesses, and then another strong woman speaks up, and Monique confesses, and y'all give me arms to link together with mine, and I get to grab you by the arm, and I get to go, you know what? It's okay, because everybody goes through this. They're not so strong and can't be broken or can't be chiseled at. That we're all human. And to see a woman, and for a woman to exhibit strength and then to come back and display that vulnerability and claw her way out of that self-pity and climb out of it and step back into her greatness, into her strength, and in her essence. I don't know if y'all can feel the shift in me just now, but that put me back into strength mode. And that put me back into a place of standing on solid ground and going, you know what? This is okay. It is okay to have this. And it will make other women rise up and crawl out and speak out. And it will encourage the guys that are on this too, that they might think women are a little crazy, but we are a little, but we can get out of it. We can get out of it. I don't know how to voice everything I'm feeling right now, but you just coming up and being vulnerable and still being strong, that's just amazing. And then I wrote down one other thing from you, which was, do I have room for people to be at a different place in my life than where I'm at now? And that's grace and mercy. That's a reoccurring theme. So Monique, you inspire me. You encourage me. Angie, you inspire me and you encourage me. Y'all just lifted me up. So thank y'all for sharing. I love y'all.
Thank you, Rhonda. And also I want to say I was one of the people that you messaged, I think, when you were going through that. And when I got your message, it was so needed, and you didn't even know that it was needed. And I didn't even know yours was needed, because I thought, oh, she's just sending me her, her daily message. And I wrote back to you what I did, which was completely sincere, what I said to you. But it was like you told me what I needed to hear, and I told you what I needed to hear, and we didn't even know what we were doing for each other. So that was crazy.
It's beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. And then it would never happen if Sean Murphy didn't get out of his freaking way and start this phone call a year or so ago. So it's a beautiful thing. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you.
Welcome to the Daily Awakening. It happens every day, folks. This isn't anything different. This is what everybody goes through every single day. And as you awaken, the challenge is that most people haven't been through this fire, and your awakening is kind of like running in at them with the 7-alarm fire and the bright lights, and they're just trying to wake up out of bed, and they can't see you, they can't hear you. This happens to everyone every day, all the time. It's why we need a tribe. It's why we need a community. This is what I started this the day I did the video on Facebook Live, December 18th, 2018. I was literally shaking because something had awoken in me, and this happens every day. Now, it took me 53 years to figure it out. I don't know how old I was back then, 52 years. Be aware that this is every day. You're stepping into a new you every moment. In this moment, you choose life. In this moment, you choose misery. In this moment, you can choose death. It says it many times, this just absolute ends of a spectrum. Choose life and death. The power of life and death are the words in your mouth. All of these things. Why is it so prevalent that we need to be reminded to choose life or choose death? That life and death exist everywhere. Why is it that we need to be reminded so often? Because it happens so often. In this moment, joy or misery. Good morning, Shami. I see your hand raised. Good morning, Shami.
Good morning.
Hello.
Um, wow, Rhonda just said, am I ready for what I've been praying for? That's kind of, to me, it's like Monique was saying, like everyone, I'm like the only one. A few years ago, I went through a lot of changes, but I feel like it was more physical than mental. And even though it was really mental, it wasn't like dealing with, I didn't process my story or anything like that. Why are you screaming, Gordon? So kind of like it was about 2 years of that, but then I kind of went back to normal. And now that I feel like I want to go through all these changes again, not just me, am I ready for it? It's kind of, I feel like everyone around me, because I know back then everybody was telling me like, you know, what's going on. Like, everybody around you kind of gets like, they start telling you like, you know, you're a different person with, you know, I don't know, like I'm ready. I'm ready for what I've been praying for, or I want to be ready for what I'm praying for. But then hearing you guys, and I've never really thought about it, but that's kind of one of the things that really hold me back is everyone around me, especially my relationship. He's not, you know, we're not. There's a lot that I know that if I really like stuck to my, if I really was true to myself, there's a lot that I really even wouldn't deal with. So it's like kind of scary how these changes affect my relationships. And then that was not even why I raised my hand, but hearing Rhonda and Monique speak, that I kind of noticed like maybe that's something that's holding me back, or that I'm fearful of, is my relationships. But what I raised my hand was because I was actually gonna say like yesterday, it was more of a story. Like yesterday, it kind of different. I relate to what everybody was saying, but it was kind of different. It had, you know, I was at family's house like 3 hours away. So then on our way back, we had already talked about, once we were on this side, eating at a specific place that we all love. But while we were up there, you know, it's a 3-hour trip, we haven't had breakfast yet. My partner tells me, okay, so let's grab something quick to eat. What do you want? Or you choose. So I'm like, okay, well, let's get breakfast, a bakery. But then we kind of like kept passing by space. It's not really our area, so we don't know much. And we kind of just kept passing places. So I'm thinking, okay, so when I see something I want, I'll let him know, because we kind of went like, oh, well, it's too late for breakfast. Let's get like a quick lunch, you know, like a quick fast food or something. But he told me to pick. So I'm like, okay, let me, you know, I'm thinking that. And then out of nowhere, he stops at a pizzeria and is like, oh, I'm getting pizza. And I'm like, but you just, I got so upset. I was like, you told me I can pick, and now you're just going to do whatever you want. Like, and he's like, well, you're taking too long. I'm hungry. Let's just get a quick pizza. And I was like, no. I said no. I'm like, no. And he's like, well, we'll get something else for you. So while I was like, okay, fine. But while I'm sitting inside the car by myself, they're getting the pizza. My mind is just upset because you told me something, and then that's not, you know, you told me to choose, and then you do which is something common with us. He's like, I feel like there's very little consideration on his part towards a lot of things. But but when I'm sitting there, I'm upset, and my mind's upset, but I'm also trying to calm myself down and trying to think like, you know, Shami, don't even, just let it go. Don't even argue about it. Like, choose something. Once we leave, choose something different. But the pizza took an hour. Like, literally the pizza took like 40 minutes, because I bet the place was just opening up. The pizza was nice and fresh, and I didn't even taste it, but it did smell good. I bet it tasted amazing. But I was so upset. It made me even madder that it took so long, because now I'm thinking like, you know, 40-minute pizza, if we stop again, it's going to take 20-30 minutes just for me to eat, and we're already on this long trip. plus we're already planning on eating once we're down there. So I was trying to calm myself down, but I was like, it didn't. I was more upset, and it's weird because like our conversations kept coming to mind, and I was thinking like, oh, just I am joyful, just like I was trying to, but I wasn't successful at calming myself down. Like once he got in with the pizza, and then also we have kids, so I was like, if we would have stopped at a fast food, we would have all gotten out and eaten. But with me being upset at the pizzeria, me not even wanting to eat, nobody got out, so we're in the car with the pizza. They're eating. Like it was just I couldn't help myself but to start arguing with him about it. I did one thing that I'm really good at before, if I argued, it would be a real bad argument. Like it would be big and bad and last until I was done. But now, like, especially like yesterday, like I argued about it, but it was like a quick, maybe 15 minutes. And then I was like, whatever. And then, I was quiet and still mad, but I let it go. And it did take me a minute. I didn't even taste the pizza, and he kept offering it, and it smells so good. But I didn't even want to, because I was just like, no, like, and then down the road on the highway, he kept asking me, like, do you want to stop somewhere? Until at one point, I kept telling him no. And then at one point, I kind of screamed it. I was like, I don't want anything. I'll just eat when we get down there. And then after that, he stopped asking, because I know I could feel that he felt bad about about the situation. But then when we got all the way to where we were going to eat, I ended up eating. I didn't eat nothing until like 3:30 in the afternoon when we got to where we were going to go. And once we were already there, like, it was good. Like I was like halfway through the trip, after like an hour, I wasn't even mad about it anymore. I kind of ate the crust of the pizza. I just ate the crust, and, but it was, to me, the fact that at the moment I was trying, like thinking about it wasn't about calming myself down and not arguing about it. And that it wasn't even like, I was like, okay, it's not even that. And then at some point the pizza tempted me to eat it, but just to prove that I didn't want it, I didn't eat it. I don't know.
So being right is a good thing.
I don't. It's not. It wasn't. To me, it wasn't that. Like I didn't want to be right. I just felt it was unfair that you told me to choose.
Come on. He offered you pizza. You were hungry, and you chose not to eat. So you wanted to prove a point. Part of your story says, so when you did finally eat, you said he did feel, you could feel that he was kind of felt bad about it. The question is that at what point is enough enough? That's all. And listen, I know Rhonda's going to jump in here because there's the woman's brain going on. The question then becomes, at what point did you decide to step out of love? Nobody can upset you without your permission. This whole concept, the whole idea of, because you're okay with it now. I mean, it's still a story you talk about, but at 3:30, when you got there, everything kind of changed around, and halfway through the trip, the stories we're hearing this morning are of a challenge showing up and a time that it dwells in us and dwells through us. And then we decide that's enough. And we step over it. We step out of it. We step through it. Every one of these stories has been a story of there's an issue, lived in it, stepped out of it. Each of us step into our own story, and each of us decide when we step out of that story. Yeah, exactly. Like drinking the poison, waiting for somebody else to die. So just be aware of it as you listen to the replay of this, because again, it's an amazing experience to see what we do. Here's the hard part, to see what we do to ourselves. RBP?
Yeah. Okay, on this conversation, Shami, I love you, girl. I think I heard every guy inhale, like gasp, and then exhale and shake their head, like every man on the call. I heard it. I felt it. This is a beautiful example of the male female brain, like at its best. So I understand exactly what you were saying and doing. Um, and there's some pointers I can give you as a 45-year-old woman. First of all, men think totally differently than a woman. And when you think he knows what you're thinking or he understands what you're hearing or saying, he doesn't, because it's totally different. It is Greek to him. And when you think he did something to spite you, it is because he did something because he didn't know what else to do and he just chose an option. And that's all it was. So men are fixers, Shami. Men are wired to fix things. Let me just fix it and take care of it. I'll fix it. I'll take care of it because it goes in the fix me box. You have a problem. I have a problem box. I'll take your problem. I'll put it in the fix box. I'll fix it and it'll be done. And we don't have to worry about it anymore. Yeah, you feel me, Christian. I know you do. So you had posed a problem to your partner. We have a 3-hour drive. The kids haven't eaten. And this is what needs to happen. So he fixed it. You didn't fix it quick enough. That was inconsiderate on his part. I totally agree. But he was like, I got to get it fixed. That woman's not going to ever fix this problem. I got to get it fixed. So he chose for you. And you're kind of sitting over there like, what the heck? If you're going to let me choose, let me choose. So this is a men are from Venus, women are from Mars, or however that book title is. This is the thinking is different. What you have to realize is there's personalities that are going on here. You've got kiddos going on here. You've got to be the best that you can be. And what do you have to do to be the best that you can be? Your sugar level is a problem here. You're going in and out of sugar high, sugar low, because your body's going, I just need some food. Your heart's hurting because you're not getting all the emotional support and love that you need. So you're reaching out emotionally. There's all these things that are happening here. Neither one of you are wrong or bad. You both are just in life. And you have kiddos with you while you're doing it. And it's hard and it's challenging. There's a good book that popped into my head. And there's all kinds of books on personalities. The one that I'm the most familiar with is called Personality Plus. And there's also a Personality Plus for kids. And that book is really good. What it's done for me is my husband and I have one characteristic in common. And when we're in that, everybody lives in a world full, or I live in a world full of stupid people personality that we both have. It's challenging to be in the same room with each other because I think he's stupid and he thinks I'm stupid. And there's no giving. So when we're in that same personality, which is a get it done, get things taken care of, I'll handle it personality, and we do something to each other, it's not to hurt each other. It's just because we're in that personality. And you need some more tools in your tool belt to understand your personality and your husband's personality. And when something is done, you won't be offended. Offense is the bait. When you become offended, that's bait. That's the shiny little lure going through the water. You can either snatch it up because you're super hungry, because you haven't either been fed spiritually, emotionally, mentally, or physically. And if you snatch that bait, you're going to be hooked on a fence. And then that's a whole nother ride and a whole nother fight for your life. So understanding personality, your husband's personality and yours, will help you from even looking at the bait of a fence as fast. Now, we say all this on this side of the argument and on this side of the situation because we've already lived through it. But when you're in it, when you're driving in that car with 3 hungry babies and a hungry mama and a hungry daddy, crap is real and feelings are raw and it's hurtful and it's harmful. So there's a couple ways to look at this. One way is, are you the person causing the hurt And I'm not saying you are, Shami. I'm saying this in general. Are you the person causing the hurt? Are you the person getting hurt? And quite often you're both, because you're participating in a conversation that's spiraling, more than likely because you're hungry, because you just hadn't had breakfast yet. And then are you acting spitefully? Are you just eating the crust because you ain't going to eat the pizza because he bought the pizza and the pizza ain't what you wanted? Are you just going to eat the crust? Are you worth more than a crust on a slice of pizza? Shami, I've never met you personally, but I can tell you right now, you're worth the whole pizza, not just the crust off of one slice. You're worth the whole pizza. And sometimes our self-worth and our pride will throw us into self-pity. And it's interesting because they're almost the antithesis of each other, but it will throw us down a slide, a slippery slope, because we just start standing on something that's not even worth standing on. But we decide, you know what, everything's falling around. My heart's breaking, my mind's breaking, my spirit's breaking. I'm just going to grab a hold of something and stand on it. And we oftentimes are standing on the wrong concept or the wrong thought or the wrong feeling or the wrong emotion or the wrong story. But we stand there and then we wonder why everything turns out the way it does. It's because of the perspective we've chosen and that we've put ourselves on. And it's in the moment. I'm going to take this robe off, y'all. I'm getting hot. In the moment, it's real. And I am not making light of any of it, because I'm going to tell you right now, there's been some times I could have chopped my husband's head off for the crap that he's done on a road trip. But when I step back and I look inside myself and I realize, you know what? I can choose to be happy and remain in joy and extend forgiveness if I want to. Is being right more important than being in love and in joy? And what's crazy is the right answer is love and joy. It's not even being right. And us girls, sometimes we get that head shaking and that finger waving and we get them snaps going and we're like, enough with these men. And sometimes the right is just to be in love. And I'm going to spin it for you. Not that your husband's, I'm not saying he was the right one. I'm not saying you're the right one, but I'm going to spin it for you a little bit. This man got in a car with a woman he cares about and 3 kiddos, and he served you what you needed, which was food, and he served you something those kids needed, which was nourishment. And he needed to feel appreciated for serving you. He needed to know that him stopping and taking care, fixing the problem, was acknowledged and received. Now, back up into the woman's brain, it wasn't done the way you wanted it. And it wasn't done the way he said he was going to do it, which was allow you to make that decision. So that kind of stomps on your emotions and your pride a little bit. And I get it. Quite honestly, Shami, I probably would have reacted the same way. But sitting on the outside looking in and with a little bit more years under her belt than you, step back and realize you do have a man that did want to serve you. And when we can fight the old story and we can kick it square in the teeth instead of getting kicked square in the teeth by it, we can oftentimes see where someone in our life wants to come in and serve us, even if they're not real good at doing it. You know, you go to a restaurant, the wait staff might not be that good, but you still get served. They're still serving you. Same thing for your partner. He might not be perfect in every area, but he did his best to serve you and take care of a situation for you. So it's just a perspective, and it's an opportunity to look at from a different angle. But I feel you. I know exactly what you're talking about. I understand the frustration. I would say sit with, where is the root of this frustration? Because He's not even in the room right now, and you can still be frustrated. So it can't all be him. And it's a moment where you have to sit in the mirror and go, all right, what the heck is inside of me that I'm not letting go of, that keeps grabbing a hold of me and is kind of like a python, and every now and then squeezes the life out of me and won't let me catch my breath. Because when I ask those questions, it reveals to me some moments where I'm like, yeah, I wasn't that pretty then. I was kind of nasty. And it helps me take care of me. And then I can show up and I can serve my husband better, because I'm not standing there with my hands out going, what you gonna give me today? I can perspective change and go, what can I give him today that will warm my heart and fill my heart by serving him? Does that make sense? Does it still communicate how much I love you, Shami?
Yes, it made a lot of sense. It did, especially
Okay.
with that situation yesterday. It made a lot of sense.
If I can add my guy male aspect on this, can I? Do I have my
Yes.
your permission, Shami?
Yes.
I'm gonna be totally honest. Rhonda, you're amazing. You're a wonderful soul, and I am grateful for every single one of you. But Rhonda decided to take 2 hours of her time last Friday and explain this same thing to me from a guy's perspective. I have to say I'm the fixer. Like she said, I'm the fixer. I do things, I get the problem, let's find a solution, let's go for it. And we're always striving to get things done. What happened was that I wanted to solve everything. And what my wife needed was not that I solved her problem, but that I listened. So it took me that conversation to change my shift, to be told by another woman how this works, how the mind works, how I should have moved away from what I love doing and how I do things, to see her perspective. But it took that conversation. So it had to happen for me to understand that I had to change my perspective and figure out what she needed. I have to say, since Friday, my relationship with my wife got back to 400% better than it has ever been, just because I've decided to listen. So, in the way, what I'm trying to convey to you is that the moment you decide to sit down and look at his perspective of being a fixer, which is our programmatic default behavior, you'll be able to shift the paradigm of how he thinks and how you think of him, and be able to step in his shoes so you can handle the situation in a different way, or you can at least understand what's going on in his mind. But at the same time, take the time to talk to him and sit down and explain your mind, because if he's not getting a call like I had from Rhonda, he's not going to understand this. I needed someone to tell me. So he might need you to convey the message and have that conversation, which is going to be uncomfortable. I'm not going to tell you it's going to be easy, but it will open the door to fix a relationship, to nurture it with the understanding that we're both two different beings with two different mindsets. But if he steps in your shoes and you step in his, life becomes so much easier. So that's my 2 cents from a guy's perspective. It's helped me, and I hope it can help you. And if any way I can help you, or we can talk more, you need my phone number, let me know. I'm here for people because I love to help anyone with what I've learned. So that's what I do. So that's my 2 cents. Hope they were good enough. And
Your name is Christian?
what's that?
Your name is Christian?
Yes, my name is Christian.
You guys have the same name.
Oh,
Yeah.
So let me let you in on a little secret here. I need you all to just sit down for just a second, and I need you all to grab your seatbelts. Y'all haven't fixed anything. Listen carefully. I'm talking to everybody on the call, because every time you've talked, you've kept saying the same word. The same word you've been saying is mind. I got to get out of my mind. Their mind is different. When you get over the mind and get into the heart is the exact same. All of this conversation goes away. You're excited that you now know about the mind. I'm telling you, wake up. The fact that your mind is different than my mind, great. You know what's not different? Your hearts. And when we realize the conversation of trying to manipulate the mind, who's in charge of that story? I'm just saying, we a great awareness, great awakening. But I'm going to suggest, I'm going to encourage, the mind gave us this story to tell us all of this. Kim, when you are in love with your kids, are there any words? When somebody gives your kids food, are there any words? If you were, God forbid, yesterday homeless on the street and somebody gave you food, would you be asking, I wonder why they do that? What I'm suggesting is that the mind is so manipulative. And yes, women operate totally different than men. But the thing that does bring us all together, the thing that brings Rhonda and her husband together when she wants to put the hatchet away and not chop his head off, is love. The thing that finally got Monique out of her own way was love for herself again. All of this to say, we have these conversations. And Christian, the only reason Christian's listening to his wife is after 2 hours of love. It wasn't any learning the brain. You don't know. Listen, you're still a dumbass when it comes to women. I'm a dumbass when it comes to women. But you know where I excel? I don't worry about the brain. I do my best to stay at that. Your relationship with your bride is 400% better because you're sitting in love. You're not sitting understanding her anymore. You're sitting and listening in love. I'm asking you to hear this. I could be totally wrong. God knows I'm a farm boy from Ohio. I make a lot of mistakes. But I heard the word mind. You go back and listen to this. And I've heard the word mind 30 times. What are you doing in your mind? Your mind is your memory. You got mad at him because you were mad at him 10 times ago. When Rhonda shared that he served you out of love. He didn't serve you because let me piss her off more. We keep getting into these mind conversations. Listen, I don't mind it because I really don't. But to sit here and now say, okay, we've got a path. There is no path in love. Love is 360 degrees all around, everywhere. And when you and everybody that had these stories, Rhonda had her awakening when she fell back in love with herself. The mind tricked her going, okay, you've got these things. But it was when she sent the text out, sending out love. It's when Monique sends back the text. It wasn't a text, it was love that happened to be in a format that her brain could read called English. And love went two ways. It's when we fall out of love with the moment that the brain goes, oh, finally. How pissed off would you be if you were one of our brains? Do you realize how pissed off the brains are? And the brains just got the brains like, all of the brains are sitting on here going, yeah, that's it. Men are different. Women are different. And this is that. And this is this. And that's this. And this is this. And the hearts are going, as you wish. And mine keeps coming up and mine keeps coming up. Oh, that's right. And I see the women making comments on here. That's exactly right. That's how my guy is. That's how this is. I'm like, please, hello. Do you realize that this whole thing just got the rug pulled out from under it? Because if you listen, anytime the solution showed up, it was love. And the mind comes up with a way to describe it. We're fixers. Yeah, we're fixers because that's how we love. That's our love language. You're going to yell. So how many of you will come across somebody that speaks a different language than you today? Pakistani, Russian, Spanish. You're going to yell at them for speaking their mother tongue? I loved this conversation. And I got to tell you, my mind was going off on a rant because it kept hearing the word mind and the way they think. What if we got back to the way you feel? That's the I want to say the illusion. That's the delusion of how we lose ourselves is when we fall out of love. We don't fall out of like. We don't fall out of thinking. We fall out of love. And we get into our head. And we have people in our life that some part of the brain is hanging on by its claws going, send a text, just send a text, ask somebody you love, tell somebody you love them. Because that statement is not coming from the heart. It's coming out of the brain as a self-defense mechanism. So, amazing conversation. The solution is, what's the solution? Fall back in love with yourself. Can you ever harm anybody if you're in love with yourself?
No.
Now, now the brain is coming up with all of these things of why I'm not good enough. I should have. It's from this moment forward.
That's what I heard, Sean. And I heard exactly what Christian and I talked about the other day, which is every one of us is valuable. Every one of us is valuable. Not one person on this call or that we will see today is not valuable in some way. And when you go back to how valuable each person is, you can't help but love them. And then you can't help but love yourself. And after you sort through it all, just like you did, and I loved that. I love that. It goes back to how valuable you are and seeing your value. And Shami, you are valuable. You're very valuable. And you're more precious than diamonds and rubies. You have this value that is indescribable. And you're questioning that inside yourself. And I can feel it and I could see it. And it was that moment yesterday, when I was questioning my value, that I had to recenter back on that love. And mine is spiritual. Mine is I go to my Bible and I speak over myself what God says I am and who God says I am. And I find my value. And so I'm going to speak that over you, that you are valuable. Every breath inside your lungs is valuable. You're loved and you're worthy of love. And I'm telling you, because you need to hear it from some other source besides your own head, because your brain's not speaking nice to you right now. You are so valuable. And you have things none of us have because you're Shami and we aren't. And we got to have Shami because we love her and we love you and I love you. And you need to look in the mirror and you need to tell that girl that's staring back at you how valuable she is, because she's extremely valuable. And we love you. Y'all send lots of love to Shami. Lots of love to Shami.
Thank you.
So Shami, quick question. What's not right? What's sitting in you on your soul right now that's not right? Not saying it's wrong, but what's not right?
When you guys were speaking, and especially what you said, Sean, because when you guys were speaking, what was going through my head, um, maybe in some ways, in that situation, he was trying to fix the moment, but I don't see him as a fixer. I don't. He's so, which is has also been a good thing. But he's so chill. He's so laid back. He's really in the moment, and like just everything will fix itself. And I'm always worried or like trying to find the solutions. I'm always trying to fix things. And the way we were raised, we're totally different. He has a beautiful, loving, supportive mom, and my mom is beautiful and supportive too. But I
So
mean, he
hang on just a
went through
second.
his own
Hang on.
struggles, but I was always responsible for.
Shami, hang on. Because I don't want you going down this path. We're going to have a conversation about it. But here's my question to you. Do you love your children?
Yes.
Can anybody love them anymore?
No.
Nope. So all of the things,
Even
all
an
of the,
issue. You mentioned the children. That's even an issue.
but listen to me.
Because
Listen to me.
I have,
You're comparing yourself based upon history, right? He's chill. You're not. You're trying to fix things. Let's get to the core. Do you love your kids pretty hard, right? You love them a lot.
yes.
Do you think he has any love for the kids?
He does. He loves them, but
Right. So listen. So if you love him and he loves him, how are you different? You're not.
but that's no.
So
But I have a son and a daughter, and it's an issue right now because he's totally different with our boy and our daughter.
love is different. The love is different.
Yeah, he loves her. He's just a lot more distance with her. Like I think back to when he was a baby, because she's a baby. He's the boy's a toddler, but even when he was a baby, he was kind of obsessed with him. He was so attentive and always with, like, kind of obsessed with him. And with the daughter, even like his mom, even family members comment on kind of the difference, and that's something that really bothers me. I'm a daddy's girl. Like my dad is my rock. I love my mom, but our relationship is so different than my relationship with my dad, and I don't know, like, if that will change, because she's a baby, so it could change, but at the moment it really bothers me to see the difference.
So in being bothered, what good does that bring to you? How does that solve the issue?
It doesn't.
Okay. So can you be in the moment? In this moment, you choose bother or you choose joy. Which would you choose?
Joy.
So how can you move yourself into that state?
And you asked me what's really the issue. Kind of, we were just broken up for a few months, for 2 to 3 months, and we just got back about 2 to 3 weeks ago. And especially this past week, I've been like questioning my decision to come back.
Okay.
That's really
So that's the big issue.
especially this weekend, it just made it more like evident to me that I don't know if I chose, like, if I should have came back in the first place.
So here's a question I have for you. In this
There's
moment,
some things that I'm not okay with, that I don't want to deal with anymore, and
okay.
I can't force someone else to feel or think the way I feel or think.
Absolutely. So here's a question for you. Do you have your intentions for your children? Do you believe your intentions for your kids are good?
Yes.
Okay. So in starting at that point, do you think you could let things that aren't good happen for them?
Yeah.
Would you want things that aren't good to happen to them?
That aren't good? No.
Yeah, that are not good, right? So,
No.
so in order for that decision, for you to be aware of those things, where would your mind have to be? Where would your heart have to be focused?
On them, the babies, on love and joy, being happy for them.
Because when you're right, when you're in a world of poop, the whole world looks like poop.
Yeah.
Right? You've got some women that are wanting to reach out to you here, some people that have been through that, some moms who have been through that situation. I would encourage you to reach out to them. Cherokee Brown says, "Where can I reach you privately?" So there's a community here of individuals.
Mm.
You know, you've got
Yeah,
somebody
it's a
who's
community.
kind of in your pocket, you know, Rhonda, to have a conversation with. I think that's something that it would serve you well to spend some time communicating with some of these folks and having your board of directors to guide you through this process. Because as this onion gets peeled, there's more and more layers to it. So I would encourage you to reach out to the people who are reaching out to you. I'd encourage you to reach out to Rhonda, have a conversation, and see what would happen to just have a place to vent some of this conversation. Does that help? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
Mhm.
Awesome.
And it's amazing. Actually, she was going through, but she actually wrote to me and made me smile. Made me smile right in the midst of me being upset. And I would have usually wrote something like, but I just wrote like hearts and thank you, but I was actually upset at the moment.
This too shall pass. Be
Mhm.
aware of what the triggers were, know what your solutions are, and have a conversation with somebody that can help you through this, that's going to be there to listen with the intent to understand and serve you well and love you through this process.
Yes.
Okay.
Hmm. Thank you.
Well, there you go, folks. It's every day is an opportunity to awaken to the unknown. Be aware that the enemy is out there. The enemy is trying to find ways to take us out, because there is this community. Because like you listen to today, and it was Rhonda, and it was Monique, and it was Shami, and it was this one and that one. The enemy has a way to look to destroy anybody that's looking to make the world a better place. And it's in a variety of ways. And all of the comments that you saw come through here, oh my gosh, I'm feeling the same way. All of this is because it's a challenge. We are changing the world. You are changing the world. You are making the world a better place, each and every one of you. And because you're on this call, you are going to be challenged. I wish it wasn't that way, but today was the perfect example of you will be challenged. And there's people who aren't on this call who were challenged and said, I got to figure it out on my own. I'm not smart enough to figure it out on my own. I'm smart enough to show up every day and to listen and to become aware and to use my experience to share with you some ideas that may serve you. That's it. There is no do this, do that. This is not a fiefdom. This is a community. So I appreciate each and every one of you being here. I appreciate the love that you share with each other. I appreciate the openness to hear things differently. Y'all tell each other you love each other. Go ahead, Monique.
Shami, I wanted to say something to you that I heard you say when you were talking about how your relationship was with your dad and your mom, and it was very interesting to me. I don't know how old your daughter is, but when you said that your relationship with that you were a daddy's girl and that your relationship with your mom was very different, I wonder if you've thought about the possibility that you're trying to inflict the relationship that you had with your dad, that you want that for your daughter. Okay. And I understand that you want her to have that same relationship that you had with your daughter, or that your dad had with you. And I bet you, if you could ask your daughter, do you see anything wrong with the way he loves you? I bet you she would say no, because it's all she knows. You're inflicting the wants and the story that you had with your daughter, with your dad onto your daughter. And I remember, I think it was Rhonda that said it like a few phone calls ago, that she has to be so careful not to put her story and her fears and her wants onto her children, because that was her experience. That's not her kids' experiences. And we do that. That's like a fault that we have as human beings, that any scare that we have or phobia that we have, that we almost like subconsciously put it onto our children. And they may not even have those fears or even know that those fears even exist, but because we have them, we're inflicting them on our children. We're putting our scars on our children. So, again, I don't know how old she is, but again, think about it from her perspective. What you see may not be what she sees. Where you see a problem, it may not be a problem for her, or for your partner for that matter. He may think, he's loving the way he knows how to love. So I just wanted to say that, because sometimes it's all about perspective. And, I'm thinking about it in my situation too. I'm trying to inflict the thoughts that I have onto my friend, and she's not there yet. That's not what her path is, So I have to give her grace and be patient with her about that, because I'm on my path and she's on her path, and I'm not here to force her onto my path. I'm here to walk my path, and whoever wants to walk with me will walk with me, and whoever doesn't. So I hope that helps a little bit. And I really, really, I can tell you really are struggling with this, and I know you're going to get through it. Just keep talking about it. Just keep feeling your way through it with your heart, not your head, as Sean said, and you will get there. And it's amazing what you're doing to try to get there. And all you can do is do the work. That's it. As long as you keep doing the work, don't beat yourself up over this. I love you.
Yeah, thank you, Monique. I love you. That makes complete sense, and I needed to hear that. Thank you.
All right, y'all. There you go. I'm Sean Murphy, founder of Mental Profits. I'll see y'all where?
At the next event.
Y'all tell each other you love each other.
Have a great day, guys.
Love you guys.
Love you, Sean.
You're a whole
Bye,
beast.
guys.
Wonderful
guys.
day.
Love
God
you.
bless
Have a
you all.
wonderful
Have a great
day.
morning, guys. Love you all.
Love you all, family. Have a
Progressive
magnificent,
and a
beautiful
powerful
day.
Love y'all. Have a great day.
Have a blessed day.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, y'all.
Love you, Shami.
Rhonda.
Bye.
Love you guys.